So what kind of differences have yourself, but also people that you worked with, seller writer clients, noticed from making just that transition of turning it to a VSL?
Well, when it first came out, there was like, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
It's like what
no one was doing it.
Yeah, no one was doing it, and yeah, it was like 6 to 10 times higher conversion rate. It was like stratospheric stuff. And for a while, I thought, a lot of my buddies I hung out with today, I mean, they're making millions a month, and they're doing fantastic, and they're usually doing it on sales pages or VSLs, one of the two. And a lot of those guys learned what I was teaching, and they just improved on it or did their own thing on it. But over time, that dropped down like everything else, right? But it's still really high. The largest offers out there are usually VSLs.
I love that. So maybe you give us a mindset shift here, because I think there's something that holds people back, I find, around selling, around promoting themselves, their product, and they don't want to be too aggressive, they don't want people to criticize them. So what is the mindset that you have around that?
This is a tricky one. At some point around 40, I lost the selling is icky and I lost it probably not for the best of reasons. I lost it because I fell in love with persuasion, and I fell in love with being able to form an argument that would make somebody want to buy something, not against their betterment, but for their betterment, right? So I'm not selling them something that's going to cause cancer, but something that's going to help maybe prevent it. It's a different story. But I really lost it when it dawned on me, and I've been teaching this ever since, that if you believe in your product or service, and if you understand that people will not take action, generally speaking, unless they have some form of skin in the game. If they've not invested in something out of their pocket that's painful, okay, whether it's $5 or $5,000, they're not as invested.
Hey everyone, this is Stephen James from Project Life Mastery, and I'm sitting down right now with Jon Benson, who's one of the world's most successful copywriters and the founder of the Video Sales Letter. He's someone that some of the world's top marketers learn and study from, including myself. He's influenced my business a lot. And today we're going to dive into his story. We're going to dive into copywriting, how to learn and master it for your online business, email marketing, video sales letters. Jon, man, thank you for taking the time, man.
Good to be here. Thanks, Stephen.
Do you mind sharing with people a little bit about your story? You've been involved in this online world for many years now. You're one of the veterans.
Yeah.
It's changed and evolved a lot, but how did you get started with this to becoming one of the most successful copywriters today?
I started I started really late. I was 40 years old when I started. So I was working as a graphic designer with my own company in Dallas, and I had gone through obesity in my early 30s and had a heart attack and almost died and had all these major health issues. And I was an athlete throughout college, so I decided I would go back to my athletic roots, go back to bodybuilding, go back to try to figure out what was wrong with my diet. Obviously, genes are really messed up when that happens, right? And so I just turned my whole life around when I was in my late 30s, and I wanted to write a book about it. And I've always wanted to write a book. I had this Tony Robbins checklist of bucket list things to do, but writing a book was one of them. I thought it would be on something like, I was a philosophy major, so I thought it'd be something like, on deep thoughts of unemployment or something philosophically related, but, the epistemology of being broke. But it ended up being, Fit Over 40. And, I didn't have any pretense of me being a subject enough for a book. And so I had the idea of interviewing other people that were over 40. And then it ended up being like, well, why don't we do 40 to 80, like this wide range. And that book became like I teamed up with a marketer who I had no idea what internet marketing was. I knew what the internet was because I was on it, but I didn't really follow internet marketing. And Tom Venuto was the guy, and he went up to LA, went up to New York, trained with him for a little bit, had a book deal on the way back, 50-50. I had no idea what I was walking into, and it ended up being like at the time, like it shut down multiple servers, hit 1,007 on Alexa, and everything changed from that moment on. So that's how I started. I got baptism by fire.
Yeah.
And so the interesting is, since we're talking about copywriting, I did not start off to be a copywriter. I knew I could write. I knew I could write a book. I knew I could write poetry. I was a poet, believe it or not. But copy is completely different, and I found that out the hard way. So
what year, I guess, did you first initially start publishing that book?
They came out in 2004.
2004.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then what kind of made you transition into learning copywriting? Like at first you're just writing your own book for your own interests,
Right.
but actually studying and learning copywriting, persuasion, influence, what made you go down that path?
So the odd story here is that I never set out to be a copywriter at all. I didn't write the copy for Fit Over 40. I just wrote the book. I didn't know anything about it. Well, I got hooked on this. It's like, oh, wow, this is great. Just walked away from my design practice, my design firm, and said, I'm just going to do this. And so I wanted to write a diet book. I'm like, I don't want to be pegged as the over 40 guy. I mean, this is because it's more than that, right? And so I decided to write Every Other Day Diet. It was my second book, which is a great name, and it was what I was basically teaching people to do. And it was kind of catchy. And when it came down to writing the sales letter, I just sucked at it. The book was fine, and the sales letter was just terrible. And I couldn't get it to convert more than like 0.5%. So I'm like, okay, obviously there's something more to it. And I never studied anyone. At the time, I'd never heard of John Carlton or Gary Benzavenga or any of the David Ogilvy. These names were like foreign to me, totally foreign. And so I decided, well, the fastest way I could figure out how to do this is look at what Tom did, who studied under John Carlton, and kind of take some of his ideas and tried that, and I got it up to 1%. I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. So, and I was really frustrated because it was like I thought the book would sell, and it was like very frustrating. So one day I was talking to my friend Mike Geary, and who had promoted Fit Over 40. He said, there's this guy doing this weird stuff with PowerPoint you should check out. And he's selling a product with PowerPoint. I go, like, the Office thing, right? And so I saw his video and thought, I think he's got the right idea with the wrong application. And I took my minor was in psychology, so I took my NLP. I was reading a lot of Tony Robbins at the time, but I was also studying NLP, and took all of this and put together this very basic, ugly video sales letter. And I just put this out one day, and I didn't want to shave. I remember I didn't want to be on video, so I would do all the words on the screen. So there wasn't like a mastermind to it. It was like, I knew it could be done better than that. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try it this way. And I kept putting it off, and then there came time to do a video for YouTube for my 90 followers, Yeah. And I did a video sales letter. And that was the first of it. And my sales went up 6 times. So I thought, wait, that was on a 6 or 7 minute VSL. So I decided to do a long one. It was like 20 minutes. It was really long. And I remember no one's ever going to read this. No one's ever going to see this. And that became the first VSL. And next thing you know, everything's different after that. So, and so for whatever reason, I was psychologically able to write slide by slide versus writing in story form. Now I can write in both, but I couldn't write in story form. I couldn't write in.
And I want my audience just to know, if they're not aware, this really revolutionized things for internet marketers, because before then it was all these long form sales copy, right? Which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. You go to a website and it's just a long sales letter. And what you did essentially is you took that and you put it together in a PowerPoint presentation, made it into a video. And so if you guys have been on web pages where you see these VSLs, video sales letter, that communicates that copy and is more engaging and grabs your attention, this is the man that created it. So
well, specifically, it's. I think what other people were thinking about doing was taking a sales page and putting it into a VSL. Yeah. And I remember Perry Marshall, I met him years later, and he said that's what he did, and his first VSL worked really well for him. That's not what I did. What I did was, because you don't have a pattern interrupt the very first part of a sales letter, right? Yeah. It usually starts "Dear Friend" or something, right? It's completely different psychologically, in my opinion. And so I created a whole different way of marketing with pattern interrupts and
a lot of
NLP stuff, and then putting it into a very ugly. All the slides were black except for the words I wanted to emphasize, which were a lot of NLP words, a lot of like power words and embedded commands and things like that. And so, I was just trying to be clever, really. And then I broke it into it was black and red because that was what advertising used. That's what the industry I came from. And next thing you know, it became the ugly video sales letter, which was named that way by Perry or Ryan. Ironically, we're here at TNC. So, and I came down to Austin about 6 or 7 months after it came out and taught. That's where I met Ryan and taught Ryan this, and he came out with a product.
Yeah, I
and,
remember that, yeah.
And then, you know, he said in the product, I learned this from this guy named Jon Benson, but it went in one ear and out the other. And so they did really well with that product. But and then I came out with Accelerator a year later. So that's still the Ferrari of the courses.
Cool. So what kind of differences have yourself, but also people that you worked with, Accelerator clients, noticed from making just that transition of turning it to a VSL?
You mean going from a sales page to a VSL? Or?
Yeah, so for example, you're saying like you weren't converting that much at first, but just making that transition, what kind of difference did that make?
Well, when it first came out, there was like, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
It's like what
no one was doing it.
Yeah, no one was doing it, and it was like, it was like 6 to 10 times higher conversion rate. It was like stratospheric stuff. And for a while, I thought, you know, a lot of my buddies I hung out with today, I mean, they're making, you know, millions a month, and they're doing fantastic, and they're usually doing it on sales pages or VSLs, one of the two. And a lot of those guys learned what I was teaching, and they just improved on it or did their own thing on it. But over time, that dropped down like everything else, right? But it's still really high. It's still the largest offers out there are usually VSLs.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the Gundry offer right now. Craig, my buddy Craig Clemens wrote that. He's an amazing copywriter. I wrote a lot of things. He's written a lot of things that are really good, and those are higher end versions of an ugly VSL. They still transition to slides. Marketing Sherpa, who I just ran into Mark, and right before you, I ran into Mark and those guys up there, and I wrote their stuff or some of their stuff, and those are VSLs and sales pages. So that we mix them. But it's you have to use all the mediums, and that's why I'm going to. It's like people say like email's dead or this is dead or this is dead. Things just work at different times, and if you don't have a webinar and a VSL and a sales page, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You should, unless you have a $30 product, you don't need a webinar for that. But you should have at least 2 or 3 mediums of how you're selling your product.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and there are some products that just will not sell any other way but through VSL.
Yeah.
I mean, as well. Like, you know, a lot of ebooks would qualify for that.
Yeah. So someone that's watching this, if they want to learn copywriting, what would you recommend? How could they get started, or what are some tips that you'd have for them to start learning how to write sales copy?
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say buy my stuff, but yeah. So I mean,
buy his stuff. I recommend
that.
I can say that.
Yeah. So I try to be pretty modest about stuff like this. I mean, people. My ex-wife used to say, "You're just way too modest, and you don't talk about yourself enough," and all that. But whatever. I will say this: that I'm as good of a copywriter as if people think I am. I'm a much better teacher at it. And I break the mold of, you know, those who can't teach. I mean, I can and I teach, and I figured out systems along with my good friend Josh Pellissier, who helped me figure out and decode what I was doing, and that became 3X VSL, which, I mean, half the people in this room that have VSLs have gone through that course, and so I'm pretty good at teaching it, and so that's, yeah. I'm going to walk people through not just here's how you get a VSL, but why these things work. So why is this slide here? I mean, I'm a slide by slide guy. It's extremely in depth. It's you know, probably too pedantic for people. But it's in depth. And then the same thing with Email Copy Pro. It's like, why is this email work? So sure, it's a machine that puts out the emails and all that stuff, but you need to know why it works. I'm a big believer in learning. So
So I'll just mention, just for my audience, John's created some amazing programs. We'll link to them for you guys in the description, but one of them is called Email Copy Pro, which is a software, we'll talk more about it, but a software you develop that helps people write email copy. You guys can check that out at www.projectlifemastery.com/emailcopypro, and then Accelerator, which helps you create your video sales letter. You can go to www.projectlifemastery.com/accelerator for that. But would you recommend you break down, because I know with like Email Copy Pro, just that alone and seeing good copy and breaking it down, I found for myself, I learn a lot from that, and just kind of the demonstration of that product, and seeing how you initiated the first sentence, you know, how you hook people, and how you went to embed social proof or scarcity or all these little factors. I find just kind of seeing it and breaking it down valuable. But is that something that you'd recommend people to do?
I do it on live coaching calls once a month. It's something I still love to do. It's kind of geek out on why is this working and what's the mystery of here. Going back to Perry Belcher, we're at TNC, Traffic Conversions, and so Ryan and Perry have been friends for 10, 12 years now, and Perry's like, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best copywriters on the planet. he, for whatever reason, thinks the same thing about me, and I got it on video. It was awesome. but we used to like just geek out together because Ryan and I had tried a fitness company together years ago, and we would just geek out on how to write stuff. And he was telling me a story. He got I forget, double conversion. It was like something insane. Like it was a double conversion on a converting product that was cutting at 4%, not bad, to 8%. And he did it by changing one slide. One slide. It was the very first slide of the VSL. So I'm telling you, it's that, I don't know if you've heard the parable about the submarine repair guy, the nuclear sub repair dude, you know? The guy, there's a nuclear sub in a port and all the alarms go off and they don't know who to call, so they call the nuclear sub repair guy. And he comes down and he looks around and for 10 minutes and freaking alarms going off, right? And pulls out a rubber mallet and hits one little place, all the alarms go off, and he sends him an invoice for $10,000. I said, dude, what, $10,000? All you did was pull out a hammer and hit something. And he goes, well, you need to look at the itemized invoice. Yeah. And it says, time for coming out $1, knowing where to hit 9,900. And that's exactly what this is, right? It's like knowing where to hit, knowing where that camera needs to strike, and in this case, the hammer needs to strike, not a camera. But he knew exactly what to do. Let's change this one thing. So how important is copy or breaking things down? It is the most important skill anyone can learn when it comes to marketing. It's more important than anything that you do. It breaks down into how we communicate. Because if I know how to communicate to an audience, it's going to help me communicate with you. It's going to help me communicate with everyone. So you don't walk around talking in sales copy, but it's still the art of persuasion using it every single day. Yeah, every day. Whether it's talking to the guy at the front of the desk of the hotel, or to your wife or spouse, you're using persuasion without knowing it. If you're not in a manipulative way, you might say, "I really think this is the best place for us to go eat, and here's why." Okay, knowing how to build a case around something, is a good idea. It's a really good thing, and it certainly is good in business. So, most important skill.
And I want to ask you just the importance of testing things and optimizing it, because I think a lot of people out there are a little bit lazy. I think they put up their product on a website and just put it up there. They drive traffic to it, and they're like, why aren't people buying it? But they don't realize that they got to test and optimize it. And when it comes to, so I want to know how much do you focus on that, and what are the most important things that you're going to get the biggest leverage testing?
So I'm going to tell you where I'm good and where I suck. I suck at this. So if I didn't have a team that did this, it wouldn't happen. Okay. And the reason I suck at it is because it's boring. Yeah, I agree. I don't like to do it. I've got, to tell you how extreme I am with this, my top fitness offer, I gave up 66% of the product to have other people do this. So I'm a glorified, affiliates get paid more than the owner of the company. And because I don't want to do that. Now, do I know the importance of it? Yes. So I can tell you exactly what to test. And so when it comes to VSLs, your first slide, your first 1,000 words, critical. You can spin those and keep everything else the same. First 1,000 words, not nearly as important as your first 5 slides. If you don't get your first 5 slides, you're done. You're done. Right. So that's important to us. Headlines, obviously. Subject lines, very important. I've seen email conversions double with a different subject line. So if you think about how obvious this is, I mean, when you get email on your phone, the vast majority of email today is open on a mobile phone, right? Well, you don't see the email. Well, you might see a couple lines, right? But you're going to see the subject line, right? And 9 times out of 10, you delete emails based on if you read the subject line, or even worse than that, oh, it's from that asshole, I'm going to delete that guy, or whatever, right? Yeah. That's not a good call, right? So you need to get this down. You need to get, so testing subject lines, headlines, and first words in sales are huge. Yeah. And obviously offer points. I mean, offer points are
the price of the product.
God, I've seen just weird things happen with prices. Yeah. Like I saw $7 beat $37, like handily, not only on total revenue up front, but total revenue in the back end. So you need to test it.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's dive a little bit into email marketing. So obviously the internet's evolved a lot. There's social media, there's content marketing. I think we're both in agreement that email is still the most powerful way to communicate with your audience. I use it as the main channel to communicate with. I mean, you own your list. You don't really own your Facebook or Twitter or things of that nature, but it seems to be the most consistent way for affiliate marketing, launching, promoting your product, building a relationship. But I'd just love to hear your thoughts on what I guess is the current state of email, and where do you see it going? Like, how do you see it maybe evolving over the next few years?
Yeah, every month email is dead. You know, it's been this way for years.
People just always
guys.
want to complain about something.
So the funniest thing I saw the other day was Dean Jackson. He's a big email guy, and posted on Facebook. He goes, "This is a real thing that just happened. I got a text message from a text-based marketer going, email is dead. Click here to find out why." So he clicks there, and what's the first thing they ask him for? His email address. And he took a screenshot of it. It's like, it's so dead, that's the first thing that you're asking for, right? It's such a lie. Ryan Dice made a joke about this. Email is still by far and away the highest ROI. Average $38 for every dollar you spend. It is the nuts and bolts of the industry. Now, I'm also not foolish enough to believe that, like direct mail, that will soon peter out and something else might rival it. There's nothing out there to rival it right now. There's nothing. Everybody says, oh, the bots would do it, text would do it. Nah. For daily communication, that stuff is great for one-off stuff. It sucks for daily. We are still a daily emailer. That's where we go to. Social media is a distant second. I mean, because you're there on social media. If you think about what you use email for psychologically versus social media, you don't go to email because you want to have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you have a really interesting email account, which do tell me about that. But most people go to email because they're checking their email because why? What's the psychology behind it? What are you doing, Stefan, when you're checking your email? What's going through your mind?
Business. I mean, everything from like, pretty much my whole life is managing flights and invoices, receipts, like everything is still email. Okay. Passwords.
You said everything. The key word, management.
Yes.
Email is your management tool. Social media is not your management tool. Social media is your tool for distraction. It's your tool for engagement. Yeah, absolutely true. It's not a management tool. And that's why email isn't going to go away. So if you're talking to somebody on their management tool, it's like you being inside Asana or Slack or whatever you use and then somebody all of a sudden being able to PM you, go, hey, I know that you're into this little thing over there and this may help you do this. It's that level of direct responsiveness. So yeah, email still rules the roost when it comes to that. And likewise, direct mail, the people that just do not want you to know that direct mail is still alive and well, or guys like, I just think of another friend of mine, I don't know if he wants me to say his name or not, but is $50 million supplement company based entirely off ads in newspapers.
Right.
So do these things still work?
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. So if ads in newspapers still work, then yeah, email is a long way from being dead.
Yeah. So when it comes to email marketing, what are some of the best practices or strategies in terms of emailing your list?
So I'm a believer in only emailing your list the days that you want to make money.
Okay. So every day.
Dean Jackson's line. Every day. If it's interesting.
Yeah.
If it's helpful, if it's compelling, if it's provocative, and so that's why email copy tools like that are going to be very helpful to do. And there are there's some businesses and situations where that's not as practical as others. But this whole thing, I hear this all the time. I only email my list once every 13 days because I don't want anyone to unsubscribe. Yeah, dude, screw the unsubscribers. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. You want people to unsubscribe. Yeah. Yeah. It's the exact opposite mentality. I want people to be raving fans of mine and people that don't to get off the list. Stop polluting the list. I want to help you, don't get me wrong, but if you're not going to take the help and you're not going to, because you're not going to interested in anything I have to say or offers, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So now that engagement, yes, how it might change. It may elongate over time. There may be a need for much more nurturing.
Yes.
You're talking about it's still Tripwire products. They rebranded this very well today. Yeah. There's still a need to do the Tripwire products to give value, to send people to higher levels of product development or product acquisition. But the point is that it's not going anywhere, and you need to learn how to master this, and you need to do it on a frequent basis.
Yeah,
not doing it on a frequent basis is a big problem. That will get you unsubs faster than being frequent.
Yeah. And are you ensuring that you have a certain ratio or balance of just providing value versus when you're promoting something?
Ideally, yeah. I mean, I know guys, my fitness list, to be honest with you, is managed by somebody else, and it's relatively large. It's not as large as some other people's, but it's big. And it's content, but all that content is like embedded with promotions, and some of it's just downright promotions. Right. So there's not this is, I think, a really good rule of thumb. You never send an email out without something to click on, ever. Unless it's like, hey, I just want to say I'm sorry but I won't be at this meeting today or this webinar because my dog is in the hospital. Oh, by the way, click here to get this. Then obviously that would be out of place, right? Like if it was an emergency email or something. But content email, I know people sending out content email. Oh, this is awesome, this is awesome, this is awesome. Joe Polish, my good friend Joe, used to do this all the time. The rare times he would send out content, it'd be like, oh yeah, Joe, it'd just be like at the end of it. Yeah. And Dean taught him that, this 4-step thing to do at the end of the email. It's like, here's 4 ways I can help you today. Little promo link, little promo link, little promo link, and so that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
No one's going to read that and go, oh, what an asshole. So, and if they do, you don't want them on.
I love that. So maybe you give us a mindset shift here, because I think there's something that holds people back, I find, around selling, around promoting themselves, their product, and they don't want to be too aggressive, they don't want people to criticize them. So what is the mindset that you have around that?
This is a tricky one. At some point around 40, I lost the selling is icky and I lost it probably not for the best of reasons. I lost it because I fell in love with persuasion, and I fell in love with being able to form an argument that would make somebody want to buy something, not against their betterment, but for their betterment, right? So I'm not selling them something that's going to cause cancer or something, but something that's going to help maybe prevent it. That's a different story. But I really lost it when it dawned on me, and I've been teaching this ever since, that if you believe in your product or service, and if you understand that people will not take action, generally speaking, unless they have some form of skin in the game.
Yeah.
If they've not invested in something out of their pocket that's painful, okay, whether it's $5 or $5,000, they're not as invested. It's the reason why $5,000 courses have lower refund rates than $5 courses, because they're more invested, right? So once you understand that, you have to make an argument, and so far no one's been able to make this argument, that you are doing someone a service by not selling to them.
Yes.
So I make the argument that if you have something that you believe in, and all the products that I sell, I totally believe in, and I know it can help them either make money or automate their businesses or learn copywriting or get fit, then if I don't sell it to them, I'm unethical. So now somebody's made the argument, it's like, well, why don't you just give it to them? Because they won't do it. Yeah. Now I give away a ton of stuff, but I know that's not going to get you there. Yeah. No one's ever come up to me and said, you know what, that free bonus that you gave me changed my life. No one. No one in 15 years has ever said that. What they've said is, Fit Over 40 or this or that or it's changed my life. So the books that they bought or the software that they bought, the guys that talked to me today, it's like dude, your VSL changed my life. Yeah, you had to buy it, right? So understanding that that's how you change people's lives is you get them to invest in something, and if you believe in it, then you're being an unethical, virtue signaling prick, if I may be so Canadianly polite, by not selling it to them. So therefore your job becomes, how do I sell the most brutally efficient way as I possibly can? And therefore all the strings are pulled off that stupid, it's salesy. You're damn right it is. Like when I write I used to write, I don't write as much, I hardly write for anyone anymore, but when I wrote full time, I would write something and they'd come back and go, oh, you know what, this is just too, this doesn't sound like me. I go, yeah, no, exactly. It's not supposed to. You suck. This person doesn't. So it's like, you're boring. And so the people that got over that got results. So now there's no need to lie in that. You can, there's really very little need to even exaggerate. People exaggerate by using hyperbolic language. That's not what I'm talking about. Like saying oh, I've helped 10 million people lose weight. Well, you don't have to say that if you've helped 100,000 people. Just say 100,000 people, right? The point is not saying that is a really big drag, right? It's not saying that I literally I will say it this way. And I say it, now I'm going to give you a copywriting lesson here. Here's what I say on a sales page or on my VSL for Accelerator. It's like I inadvertently, and I don't use the word inadvertently, I said I accidentally, so that's another little copywriting lesson. Inadvertently, 5 syllables, nix it. I tripped up and now I got it even simpler. I fell into, you see where I'm going with this? So keep going simple. So I accidentally, that's not too bad, I accidentally created an entire industry that has made billions of dollars. this formula is an accident. It was a total accident. But I want to show it to you because, it's obviously, it's changed an entire industry. That's a braggart thing to say, but in a non-braggart way. And it's absolutely factual. So not saying that would be really silly, but also tacked on some persuasion. You need this because these other people already have it. So without this, you're kind of falling behind. So you get the idea. So yeah, I think it's to get over that sales is icky thing. The key for that has been that you're unethical if you don't want to sell as powerful as you can. And that's a mind twist for some people.
No, I totally agree. And I've noticed from my experience putting out tons of free content, over 35 million views, one of the most disappointing thing that I've found is that people enjoy the content, but very few people actually apply any of it and get any results from it. And that's kind of a little bit frustrating with how much time that I spend creating such valuable content for people, and the realization that I'm in a way doing a bit of a disservice rather than actually having them invest in something that's more structured, organized. And then they actually, when they invest in it, they have that belief and that confidence too, because in a way to get them to actually buy the product, you're persuading and influencing to make them believe that this is an opportunity that can help them, serve them, that they can do it. And there's a mental components that I think once you get a sale that contributes to their success of actually applying it and getting results.
Right.
So I've noticed that in my business as well, is as much as I want to help everybody and serve them, but in a way I'm not helping anyone on the depth that I could really help them just by providing free content. It's by charging money and having them, the more they pay attention, and the more they're going to actually apply it and everything too. So
yeah, and it's getting over your own, there's a sense of like higher morality that people have when they attribute something to being, salesy. Very few people like to be sold, but everyone likes to buy stuff. So if you're in the area of saying, like, here's why you should buy this, it's going to be awesome for you, that's not selling as much as that's from a cheesy sense of the word. But just look around you. For any lack of clarity on this, if you're balkanized on this issue and you're like, no, I'm over here and the sales guys are over there, just look at your house. How much stuff in your house is stuff you don't need? Somebody sold that to you, whether you know it or not. And I think that the shame of it is it's one of the best professions in the world if you're selling something that's important. And that's the key. It's just, is what you're doing important? Is it helpful?
Do you mind sharing with people a little bit about Email Copy Pro and what that can do for those of the people out there that want to be able to write copy or do it a lot faster and easier by using something like Email Copy Pro?
Yeah, well, Email Copy Pro was born out of Accelerator. Accelerator has software to it, right? And
you want to start with that one first, maybe?
Yeah, no, I'll just say that Accelerator is by far and away the most advanced and certainly the most successful video sales letter training in the world. And has definitely more winners. I mean, like, I can go down the list of the winners that come out of Accelerator. I mean, we're talking over $1 billion a year, or is repeated out of this. So it's a formula that works, right? But it's a copywriting course centered, kind of tricked around software, right? And the software is really rudimentary. It's like pick a slide, and you got 9 choices of this copy, then go to the next slide, and So I'm writing a lot of the copy for you, but I'm also teaching you in every single slide. Okay, this is why this works, and here's where you have to fill it out. So the request came up for email. Well, how do you do this for email? Well, see, a VSL is one thing. It doesn't change. It's one entity, right? It's a formula down a series of slides. Email could be one entity if it was only one email. If it's 2 emails, you're automatically doubled your entity volume, right? If it's 100 emails, you can see where I'm going with this. And everyone has a lot more than 2 emails, right? A lot more than 100 emails. So that's a much bigger beast to tackle. Could you make that and have it have the same level of impact? And so basically you're asking me, the customers are asking a little bit for AI for email. So what Email Copy Pro is one of the very first generations of the future of AI for email. It basically makes every email that you want to send out more lucrative. So you don't write the emails, you just fill in the specific fields that we want you to fill in. And here's where the twist always comes in for my stuff, because there's knockoff products that says, oh, fill in this field and we'll put this email out for you. And then the next time that field's used, it sounds like you came from a foreign country and that English is your 4th language, right? Because they haven't thought this through. It's complicated as hell. We thought it through. so that you fill out this one field, it's going to work in the next 100 emails that you use, right? And that's what you want. You want a database that is smart, that understands what it's going to do in the next email to come. So this is not only having you think through your marketing, it's doing it in a really sly way, and it's giving you the email so you don't have to write it. But it's forcing you to think through your marketing one little bit at a time, like, oh, do you have what we call a primary solution? And people go, yeah, so they don't know what that is. That's our term, right? So I teach people why it's important to have a solution that is separate from your product. And a lot of people don't think in those terms like that. So there's a great copyright right there. But a lot of people don't think that way because they think in terms of my product or my service is the solution. And a little sly teaching tool that we throw in as you're filling out a field is like, no, I want you to come up with something that is reason why your product works so well. So I'll give you a simple example. P90X is the only program on earth that features muscle confusion principle, right? That's the primary solution for P90X. It wasn't P90X. It was like muscle confusion is the answer to everything that you have a problem with. Therefore, if you ever want to get in shape, that's loud. If you ever want to get in shape, muscle confusion is it. Now, P90X was centered around muscle confusion. It's the only program. See where I'm going with this? That's a primary solution. Imagine if we could do that, but we do this for you in email. We do it for people's fears, people's main problem, their complaints. Oh, we help you brand everything so that when you send something out, it's like, oh, that's the guy talking about that one complaint that they can relate to. Oh, that problem is solved in this course or in this book or whatever it may be. So I'm teaching you marketing without going through a course. You're just filling in one thing at a time, and the result is every email you send is more lucrative.
Yeah, incredibly powerful. Yeah. I think not just for learning it, but I mean it does the work for you too.
Yeah, so it does a lot of the work for you.
I think one of the best ways, again, I'll provide the links for you guys but actually watch the demo that he has on his websites because it's a game changer. Yeah. It's really changing the landscape yet again. But I think by watching the video and seeing it in action, you see the power of what it can do for your business and how you can create better emails, send more emails, make more money from it. So again, the links are www.projectlifemastery.com/emailcopypro and www.projectlifemastery.com/accelerator. And again, the links will be below for you guys. I guess just to wrap up, what kind of advice would you give to someone that is just getting started today in this world of the internet? There's more opportunities available now than ever before. Yeah. It's changed a lot. In many ways, I think it's easier to get started today than it was before. There's just more opportunities and softwares and tools that can allow people to grow. But what advice would you give to someone just getting started?
So far, I have not found reason to change this advice. Learn copy, learn why copy works. And if you want to learn how to write copy, that's great. But at least learn how the mechanisms of copy works, because copy's still king. It's going to be king for a long, long time. Even with tools like we're talking about, still going to be king because you still have to fill in these fields, and there's going to be a lot of people out there that will never buy that stuff that you could become a copywriter and do that. But you need to know this for how to communicate your biggest message to your customers, to communicate their biggest fears they don't even know they have. So, and to validate the fears they do know they have. These are really basic marketing principles, and the best way to do that is to learn copy. Again, not having to be a copywriter, but learn the principles of why copy works. That is still, that's yet to be replaced by all the stuff that's out there, from bots to social media stuff to whatever the next big thing is. It's still going to come down to that. And the second thing I would say that is right next to that is, if you have a product or service that you absolutely love, it doesn't have to be perfect. Our stuff isn't perfect. We're always perfecting it as we go along. It needs to be good, and it needs to be, the principle needs to be something that you believe in. Like, there's no way. None of my products, people come up to me and they go, "Oh, do you use this?" I go, "No, it just sells good." No, ever. So find something that you really genuinely love to do, because and hopefully create a product around it or a service, and then sell the hell out of it. The techniques will change. Tomorrow there will be some new thing that will come along, right? But if you know how to write, first of all, I'm not suggesting everybody needs to be a copywriter, but if you know how to write, you'll never be unemployed. There's always needs for, if you know how to write well, especially. But even if you don't, even if you can't get gigs, you'll always be able to sell yourself. And that's the most important thing in any industry, is to be able to sell yourself. Words, it still comes down to words, man.
I agree.
Yeah, kind of important.
Well, thank you, John. Appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, hit the thumbs up here on YouTube. Check out Jon Benson's work. Study, learn from this guy, invest in his training programs. It'll definitely make a big difference for your business. Leave a comment below, subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.